Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Pappinger. I'm with the Connecticut Department of Transportation and the project manager for State Project 131-190, which includes various bridge and intersection improvements along Route 10, Route 322, and Old Turnpike Road in the towns of Southington and Cheshire. This is the virtual public informational meeting for the project. This meeting is a live virtual event and a question and answer session will follow the formal presentation. I'd like to bring your attention to the project email, dotproject131-190 at ct.gov, and the project voicemail at 860-944-1111. Email or voicemail questions or comments can be submitted through the end of the public comment period, which lasts until June 3rd, 2022. I'd also like to point out the project webpage shown near the middle of the screen, portal.ct.gov/DOT Southington 131-190, which includes general project information, plans, and information on how you can get in contact with the department with any questions or comments you may have after the conclusion of this meeting. A recording of this presentation will be posted to the webpage within a few days following the meeting. Closed captioning, including non-English translation options, will be available at that time. There are 3 ways to communicate with the project team during today's question and answer session. You may submit email questions to the project email box, again, dotproject131-190 at ct.gov. You can also call and leave a voicemail at 860-944-1111, or you can use the Microsoft Teams live chat to ask questions. The moderator will post any questions or comments to the Microsoft Teams Q&A chat, and we will answer your questions after the presentation. The public comment period again runs through June 3rd, 2022. If you're unable to post a question or comment tonight, they can be sent to the previously mentioned project email address or phone number, which is also shown on the screen now. The department has established a survey to solicit feedback on today's meeting. There's also civil rights information available. A link to both the survey and civil rights information is available on the aforementioned project webpage for your convenience. And I'd like to state that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. Now Kevin Fleming from the Department's Office of Environmental Planning is going to discuss the project as it relates to the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here tonight. My name is Kevin Fleming, and I'm a transportation planner here at DOT, and I work in the Office of Environmental Planning. We're here tonight for a joint public informational / SEPA scoping meeting. What does that mean exactly? What is SEPA and what is meant by the term scoping? Well, the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act, or SEPA, provides a process for the Connecticut state agencies to follow in order to identify and review any action that may have a significant effect on the environment. Really, at its core, the purpose of SEPA is to provide a public process to identify and assess the extent to which a proposed state action may affect the environment, and then also to evaluate any alternatives to avoid or minimize those impacts. A really important component of SEPA is the public's opportunity to review a proposed project and give feedback. So your comments and questions here tonight and then throughout the entire public comment period, which expires on June 3rd, is really vital, and it's also a critical part of the SEPA process itself. So while conducting a review under SEPA, we have to consider the impacts that a project may have on a really wide range of environmental resources. Now, what you see here isn't necessarily an all-encompassing list, but it should give you a really good idea of the range of resources we have to consider under SEPA. Everything from cultural resources to noise to wetlands, and then also we have to make sure that the project complies with the State Plan of Conservation and Development and isn't in conflict with any of the local master plans. And actually, in the case of this particular project, since it involves federal funding, like the majority of our projects do, we also have to look at these resources to ensure compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, as well. So now that you just have a really general idea of what SEPA is and what needs to be considered under SEPA, what exactly is meant by the term scoping? Well, scoping has a really specific definition under SEPA, and the process involves a defined set of steps for public outreach. As you can see here, SEPA scoping is defined as the gathering and analysis of information that a state agency will use to establish the extent of environmental review of a proposed state project. So basically, it's just a way for us to get information from the public and the other state agencies so we can ultimately determine the proper level of environmental review and documentation needed for a particular project. This process begins once we publish a notice of the project in the Environmental Monitor, and that kicks off a minimum 30-day public comment period. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Environmental Monitor, it is an online publication run by the Connecticut Council on Environmental Quality, and it basically tracks the projects that are required to go through the SEPA process, and it posts the relevant information for those projects. So for this particular project, we published that notice back on May 3rd, and the comment period will run until the close of business on Friday, June 3rd. Now, as I stated, the idea is to solicit comments from the various state regulatory agencies, such as the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, the Connecticut Department of Public Health, and the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office, just to name a few, and then as well as from the various municipalities and the public to help identify any potential alternatives, and then also to help identify any specific environmental resources that need to be analyzed in the project area. Obviously, as you know, often the local community has a really unique understanding of the project area itself, not only the resources located in the project area, but also an awareness of any community concerns, issues, or controversies. So ultimately, this scoping process will help us determine if there are any concerns or significant impacts associated with the project, and if there's a need to undertake a detailed and comprehensive environmental impact evaluation. So here is just a really high-level chart of the SEPA process. It shows where we are currently, and those are the boxes outlined in red. And then it also shows what the next steps are under SEPA. And as I previously mentioned, once we determined initially that this project was subject to a SEPA review, we went ahead and published in the Environmental Monitor a notice of the project, and that officially kicked off the SEPA scoping phase for the project. So just an FYI, anytime a project involves the demolition of or major alterations to historic resources, we have to go through the SEPA scoping process. So for this particular project, we're required to undergo SEPA scoping because two of the bridges that are proposed for demolition are eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. We've been working with the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office, Federal Highway Administration, and also the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation to develop mitigation for the impacts, and then we'll continue to work with them as the project progresses. Once the scoping period ends on June 3rd, we'll go ahead and review all of the comments that we received. We'll consider any environmental impacts and then determine if the project has the potential to have a significant effect on the environment. And then based on this information, we'll determine if an EIE is required or not. Now, an EIE is a detailed and comprehensive document that analyzes any significant environmental impacts, and it also compares the impacts of any alternatives considered for a project. Once a decision is made on whether to undertake an EIE or not, that determination and the justification behind it will be published in the Environmental Monitor, along with a synopsis of the comments that we received and our responses to those comments. So if an EIE is required, we will start the process of producing that document. However, if no EIE is needed, the publication that I just referenced in the Environmental Monitor will conclude this SEPA review for the project. So thank you all for your time. That's it for me. Now I'll hand the presentation back over to Jeff. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Kevin. I'd now like to introduce the project's design team. The Department of Transportation is represented tonight by Michael Calabrese, the Division Chief of Highway Design, Sebastian Canamella, Principal Engineer, myself, Jeff Paffinger, Project Manager, and Charles Grillo, Project Engineer. We are joined today by the team from Fuss & O'Neill, the department's design consultant firm for the project, represented by Kristen Soloway, Project Manager, and Dan Whitmore and Stu Harris, Structural Engineers. With that, I'm going to pass this over to Kristen Soloway and her team at Fuss & O'Neill for the project presentation. Kristen.
Good evening. Thanks, Jeff. Again, my name is Kristen Soloway, and I'm a project manager with Fuss & O'Neill. I'll be giving the majority of the presentation tonight. First, I'll just give a brief agenda. We'll be telling you a little bit about the project overview, the purpose and need, go through some of the existing conditions, the proposed design, construction staging, some of the utility work, regulatory permits, construction overview, and then schedule and cost. And then we'll go into a question and answer session. This project is to remove the Route 10 bridge over Route 322 and provide an at-grade intersection to provide intersection improvements on Route 10 and Route 322. I'd like to start with giving you a brief description of where this project is located. It is north, laser pointer. North is to the top of the page. The project limits include Cheshire Road, Route 10. It's just the project limits start just north of Whitlock Avenue, and it will run south along Route 10 to the intersection of Old Turnpike Road, just south of there. And then along 322, it'll begin just west of the Superior Rental and along Easterly to just west of Old Turnpike Road. Route 322 has an average daily traffic of 10,600 vehicles per day, and the speed limit is 40 miles an hour. Route 10 has also a speed limit of 40 miles an hour, and the classification has north of Route 322 has 8,700 vehicles per day. In the area between Route 322 and Old Turnpike Road, it has 5,200 vehicles per day, and to the south is 12,900 vehicles per day. The purpose and need for this project is to remove Bridge 518, which is the overpass of Route 10, and construct an at-grade four-way signalized intersection. The profile will be lowered so that the Route 10 will meet 322 at its existing grade. Bridge 5753, which is Route 322 over the 10-mile river, and Bridge 646, which is also Route 10 over the 10-mile river. Those bridges will be replaced. So as part of this project, we've completed a traffic study. It was determined that with the proposed improvements, there will be an acceptable level of service will be achieved during the AM and PM peak hours. There will be new signalized intersection, as I stated previously, at Route 10 and Route 322. There will be full replacements of the Route 322 and Old Turnpike Road intersection, as well as the Route 10 and the Old Turnpike Road intersection. So this plan shows the full project limits. The yellow shaded areas are the limits of construction, with the project beginning north on Route 10 and traversing south through the yellow shaded areas. The two red rectangles here are the bridge replacements, and the blue is the 10-mile river. Approximately 1,500 feet of Route 10 will be constructed. The roadway will be widened to provide 2 travel lanes, one in each direction, and left turn lanes as necessary. Route 322 will also be widened to provide one travel lane in each direction and associated turning lanes. So now I'm going to blow up each intersection and give a little bit more detail about what's going to happen. At the intersection of Route 10 and Old Turnpike Road, as the bridge will be removed, we'll lower Route 10 to the elevation of Route 322. There will be a new signal, and with full crosswalks and pedestrian facilities. And as you can see, the brown shaded areas are sidewalks. There will be sidewalks along the north and south section of Route 322, as well as on Route 10. As you move to the east, this is the intersection of Old Turnpike Road and Route 322. This will also have a full traffic signal replacement with sidewalks on the east side of Old Turnpike Road. As you can see, the brown shaded area extends past the pavement reconstruction, as we'll be connecting to the existing sidewalk further down Route 322. We'll also be improving turning radiuses on the north and south corner to allow for more smoother maneuvers for trucks. This area is the new intersection of Old Turnpike Road and Route 10. This will be realigned to form a more perpendicular approach to Route 10. There will be a new traffic signal at this intersection, as well as full sidewalks that will be extended to the project terminus. This view shows an enlarged area of the Route 6 of this bridge number 646, which is Route 10 over the 10 Mile River. This is an 85-year-old arch culvert in need of replacement. It is hydraulically inadequate, and it will be widened to allow to improve the hydraulics through the bridge. Sidewalks will be provided along Route 10 in this area as well. And this is the bridge replacement of the 322, bridge number 5753 over the 10 Mile River. This bridge will also be wider than it is in its existing condition to allow for shoulders as well as sidewalk. And with this, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Whittemore, who's going to talk about the bridges in a little more detail.
All right. Excuse me. Thank you, Kristen. Again, my name is Dan Whittemore. I'm a structural engineer at Fuss & O'Neill, and I want to talk a little bit about starting right here at Bridge 5753. As Kristen already said, it carries Route 322 over the 10 Mile River. This is just west of the Old Turnpike Road signal that's out there today. The bridge out there today is proposed to be replaced with a longer three-sided precast concrete structure. These structures look like upside-down U's, you can visualize them. Just a roof and two sides, no bottom. The reason we're replacing it, there are some condition issues, as Kristen mentioned, with the existing bridge. I think more than that is the 10 Mile River. The new bridge is wider. It can allow more water to pass under it during larger storm events. We are looking at using a three-sided precast bridge, as these bridges are constructed off-site, allowing us to basically drop a nearly finished bridge onto a foundation. Anticipate that a construction of this bridge like this of this type will take about a month to complete. So be able to get in there, get it done, and get out a lot faster. When you cross over the structure, you can see the cross section in the lower right hand corner of your screen right there. The configuration of the sidewalk and traffic lanes will be very similar to the structure today, though like I said, the structure will be longer. And it'll be better aligned with the Old Turnpike Road intersection right to the east, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. The bridge is going to have 3 lanes of traffic, 2 shoulders, and a sidewalk on the southern side, again, very similar to what's out there today. On the next slide. Next slide, Kristen. There we go. All right, Bridge 646 carries Route 10 Cheshire Road over the 10-mile river south of where today the Route 10 road passes over Route 322. We are planning to use the same three-sided precast concrete structure here as well for the same reasons, ease of speed and installation. The bridge, given the soil conditions at this location, there's less rock at this location, will require piles, which you can see in the elevation side view on the upper right-hand corner. When you're crossing it, you're going to see a sidewalk on the west side that isn't out there today. So we're going to have sidewalk access coming off of 322 heading north and south along Cheshire Road going up to what will be Norton Street. And 3 lanes as opposed to 2. The third lane is going to be a turning lane for the intersection of 322 right north of this location. The most notable difference in this bridge and the bridge out there today, besides the fact that the new structure, it's going to be significantly lower. You can see in the side view in the upper right-hand corner there, you see the old bridge passing about roughly 8 feet above where this bridge is going to go. Again, you won't notice it when you're driving over it, but it's going to be noticeably lower than the bridge out there today, the existing 85-year-old arch bridge. All right, next slide. Take a few minutes and discuss the staging or the phases that we're going to use to get this project complete. We anticipate 6 major stages, plus a paving stage I'll talk about a little bit at the end, and I'm going to go over these stages one by one. These stages have been planned out to build on top of each other to allow the work to be completed while still allowing traffic to flow through the site. The stages build off each other, so it's important that the stage before be completed before the next stage can start, as you will see as they go through these. All right, so let's talk about stage 1. Stage 1 is focused on the Route 322 Old Turnpike Road intersection. All right, so in this view here and the rest of the plans I'm going to show you, the yellow areas in the plans are work zones, so areas the contractors are working, and the gray areas are showing roads open to traffic. All right, stage 1 has 3 kind of smaller substages built into it, but it's all doing the same thing. What we're looking to do is basically put in the final curves and the widening that we're going to need in the future stages in order to allow the traffic to flow, as you'll see as you go through this. You'll notice in this and all the future stages we're going to look at, we're allowing at least 1 lane of traffic in each direction. And if we can't allow for at least 1 lane of traffic, we're going to show a detour around the site. Okay, and one more thing that isn't really shown on these plan views, if your home or business is behind one of these yellow areas, we are going to ensure that when the construction is going on, it's our design goal to assure that traffic can get through the construction zones onto the driveways and access the businesses. We're never going to block off the homes because of the work we're doing here. Let's go on to stage 2. All right, in stage 2, what we're looking at doing here is lowering Route 10. So in this stage, Route 10 is closed. So north-south traffic is going to go up Old Turnpike Road, turn left onto Route 322, which is why in stage 1 we were improving the curves on the intersection, and then heading north up Norton Street. The bridge is not the existing bridge overpass Route 10 crosses over 322 is not included in this phase. That's going to be in the next phase, so traffic will be able to pass east and west through there. And while it isn't really called out on this plan view, in the yellow zone there is where Bridge 646 is situated. That bridge is going to be replaced during stage 2. Go ahead and flip over to next stage. All right, so stage 3, we have one goal in stage 3, and that is to remove the bridge, the Route 10 bridge crossing over 322. During this stage, traffic will remain closed both on Route 10 and on Route 322. So talking about traffic flow, obviously you can't allow for 1 lane of traffic in each direction. North-south traffic is going to be similar to this prior stage, turning left on 322, then north up the Norton Street around the project site. East-west traffic is going to get diverted. It will be detoured north up Norton Street, over to Clark Street, and then back down to 322. This phase is actually going to go fairly quickly. We're anticipating the demolition time is going to be approximately, well, it could be as fast as around a week for us to get in there, get the bridge out, and then get 322 reopened to east-west traffic. Looking at stage 4. In stage 4, we are looking at making the roadway improvements to Route 322 and the new at-grade intersection with Route 10. So basically tying the two roads together. You see 3 work zones here again. All we are doing is making sure we have enough room to allow for 1 lane of traffic in each direction, and also be able to get in and get and make the intersection improvements. So looking first at the southern port of 322 and the northern port, then finishing up the southern portion as well. The center, the phase right there, I want to mention, we are actually blocking off our new Route 10 interchange. So in order to accommodate north-south traffic in that phase, there's going to have to be a detour up to Norton Street and then west over to Clark Street to get around the site. All right, going on to stage 5. In stage 5, this is where we're doing the work on Bridge 5753. 5753 is shown in red. It's kind of a spun view here. North is over to the right on this view. But in this view, we're looking at replacing Bridge 5753 with a 3-sided culvert or 3-sided bridge structure I mentioned a few minutes ago. The bridge will be closed during that phase to accommodate the work, but traffic will be rerouted around the site using the now opened Route 10 and Old Turnpike Road interchange. We will probably have to temporarily improve the curves at the intersection. You can see the curves kind of in the red around that there. To accommodate the right-hand turns off of Old Turnpike Road onto Route 10 that isn't currently supported by the intersection. There's no reason a car would make that turn. They go down 322. We anticipate, again, like I said before, the bridge can be replaced in approximately a month's time. Stage 6, the next phase after this. This is basically the wrap-up phase. At this phase here, we are widening out and reconstructing Old Turnpike Road south of the intersection where it meets up with Route 10. While that will be closed, again, north-south can be accommodated through the new Route 10 interchange, and access to the local businesses can happen from the interchange to the north up on Route 10. And then there's a final phase, stage 7, after all of this, final paving. In all the prior stages, the bituminous that we're putting down on the roadway won't be the final full thickness. We're going to basically add that in stage 7. We wait until the very end, just so that the project has a consistent layer of bituminous across the entire thing, and also helps to cover up things that we use during stage construction. Could be temporary pavement markings, things like that will be covered up by the bituminous layers. Paving work will happen behind short-term construction patterns and be fairly innocuous. All right, and with that, I guess I'm getting it back to Kristen to wrap up the presentation.
Again, my name is Kristen Soloway, and I'm going to finish up the presentation. There will be utility relocations within the project area. There will be no disruptions to service. Overhead, there will be some pole relocations as necessary to relocate power, telephone, and cable. Underground, there is sewer, water, and gas. Relocations will be to avoid drainage and profile adjustments, and there'll be frame and covers will be adjusted as necessary. Coordination with the appropriate regulatory agencies is ongoing. At this stage, we anticipate the following permits. From the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, an individual flood management certification, an inland wetlands permit, and a stormwater discharge permit. From the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, there will be a requirement of a pre-construction notice. To go through our final slide, which is to discuss the project schedule and funding, we've completed the preliminary design, and tonight is our public information meeting. We'll begin our final design on July 1st with an anticipated design completion in the summer of 2023. We expect construction to start in the spring of 2024, and the construction duration is approximately 2 to 3 years. We expect to utilize state and federal funding, and the current cost estimate at this stage of design is approximately $11 million. Thank you for participating tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to Brett Stark, who will initiate the question and answer session.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Kristen. Good evening. My name is Brett Stark, and I work for BL Companies. BL is the consultant liaison engineer for DOT's Division of Highway Design. That essentially means that we provide adjunct support for department initiatives such as this here. Again, I'd like to start by thanking you all for your attendance and participation this evening. On any project, public outreach is a critical element here, and the department strives to receive feedback and work to incorporate the best we can here. As we covered early on, I'm going to remind you that there are 3 ways to participate in the question and answers tonight. Again, the first is by sending an email, and the email address again is DOT project. That's DOT PROJECT 131-190 at ct.gov. You can also call and leave a voicemail at 860-944-1111. We just ask that if you leave a voicemail that you please reference project number 131-190 in your message, as there are other public information meetings that have occurred, and that voicemail, as Jeff mentioned earlier, is open for an extended period. Again, the final option for asking questions is to take advantage of the Microsoft Teams live chat session using the Q&A as was instructed earlier. I will note that for those of you participating on YouTube this evening, you are not able to ask questions live, but you can use the voicemail or email function here. Again, the comment period will end on June 3rd, 2022. After tonight, the Microsoft Teams live session will conclude. However, you can still send your questions in via the email or voicemail for the next couple weeks. All right, Jeff, do we have a question ready for you here?
Yes, thank you, Brett. Yeah, now that we've covered the way to submit questions or comments, let's get started with the ones that have come in so far. So I think we're still seeing Brett, though.
Yep. Sorry, Jeff.
Apologize, everybody. We're still sort of getting used to this new format. All right. So the first question that came in, somebody asked, is this going to be voted on, or has this already been decided to go ahead with? For that, I will just say that, we are presenting this project today to gather public feedback regarding the project as proposed. While there's not a vote that takes place after this meeting, we'll consider any public feedback that we receive when deciding whether or not to move forward with the project as is. We have presented this project previously, and the feedback we received was generally favorable. Should that change this time around, we'll work internally and with town officials to determine if any changes to the scope need to be considered. All right. And it looks like we did have another one that came in. Somebody asking if there are plans to put sidewalks to the Cheshire border on Old Turnpike Road. Cheshire will not allow them, so there's no reason for them to be installed in Southington. To that, I will say that yes, the current plan is to provide sidewalks along Old Turnpike Road, with them ending just north of the town line. These sidewalks have been previously discussed and supported by town of Southington officials. We did get a few questions about these sidewalks specifically here tonight. We will be reaching back out to town officials after this meeting to continue the discussion regarding, where it would be appropriate to install them under this project, and where they don't think that providing pedestrian accommodations would be necessary. And then there was one additional question about the sidewalks, asking if we are taking any property for the installation of these sidewalks. And I will again answer that question and say that, the roadway design under this project had progressed previously. We essentially went back to the start in order to add in a couple of bridges that weren't included previously. And that'd be the Route 10 over the 10 Mile River Bridge and the Route 322 over the 10 Mile River Bridge. When it was determined that they were in, not the best shape. And since we were already out here with the project, we decided to include them in this project so we wouldn't be back out, 5 years in the future to do repairs just after we had gotten done fixing everything up. So under the earlier design for the roadway work, all the property that was needed to accommodate any of the improvements, including the sidewalks, was already acquired. And at this time, we're not anticipating that any additional property would need to be required for any aspect of the project. So I guess the short answer to that long response would be no, we are not anticipating any additional property acquisitions under this project. The next question we got is asking, we mentioned that we will be keeping property access to all the businesses available during construction. And this person is asking, what about access to the residential properties? For the answer to that, I'm going to pass this over to Kristen Soloway with Fuss & O'Neill. Kristen.
Thanks, Jeff. So to answer your question, if access will be provided to residents as well, it's not just businesses, of course, yes, residents, all driveways will have access. If there's a temporary need, they'll put temporary pavement in, but you will always have access to your driveways.
Apologize, I'm just trying to get a little bit organized here.
Hey, Jeff, while you're doing that, this is Brett again. I'm going to just remind folks here again that in addition to the questions and answers this evening, we also do have the voluntary survey, which we would, really appreciate. Folks, again, we do appreciate your participation this evening, and we would really value the feedback from you, from those who are in attendance tonight. A link to that survey will be posted in the chat here, or as an announcement in the question and answer session. And from that link, that will take you to the DOT survey page. There's a drop-down menu. Just again, look for the project title, improvements on Route 10 and 322 and removal of Bridge 518 in Southington. That survey is voluntary and anonymous. There's two sections to it. One is feedback on the content of the presentation tonight and everything else. The second is a little more demographic information, but again, up to you guys. After tonight's session, again, there's a QR code you'll see here on the screen, and that information and link will also be on the project webpage, which is again portal.ct.gov/DOT Southington 131-190. Jeff, are you ready with another question?
I am, Brett. Thank you. Okay, we got two right back to back that seem relatively related, so I'm going to combine these into a single question. The first one was, when was the last traffic study done? And the second one asks, how many cars a day currently go over the Route 10 bridge that goes over Route 322? And for an answer to this, I'm going to pass this back over to Kristen with Fuss & O'Neill. Kristen?
Thanks, Jeff. So the last traffic study was done in 2017. Full traffic counts were performed, and it was determined that there were approximately 5,000 cars that travel over Route 10. This was, with COVID, traffic counts have diminished. So we're still utilizing the previous counts and from 2017, and that has been the industry standard. So that was the last traffic study that was completed.
All right, thank you, Kristen. Looks like we did get a couple more questions in, so I think I'm just going to jump right to those. All right. First question is, were any other designs done to keep the Route 10 overpass bridge? And I'm just going to go ahead and take that one. When this project was initiated several years back at this point, it was started to replace the bridge of Route 322 over Route 10, or the other way around, Route 10 over Route 322. So once we started to get into the project, we realized that it was sort of an odd design that's out there today. Norton Street sort of acts as a de facto on and off ramp, getting traffic from Route 10 down onto Route 322, and then back up for people that are coming down Route 322 and want to take Route 10 north. And that's really not a situation that you see on a lot of surface streets where you've got overpasses and on and off ramps on, roads that aren't limited access highways. So the department initiated a traffic study to determine whether or not that bridge was needed or whether or not we could remove it and still be able to accommodate traffic in the same fashion that we do today. And, what was determined out of that traffic study was the level of service, the congestion, the new intersection's ability to accommodate traffic was essentially the same as the existing conditions. So, we did look at that initially, but, sort of due to the traffic impacts of it, the added maintenance responsibility for the department to maintain a bridge versus an at-grade intersection, it was decided to, instead of replacing the bridge, to remove it and create the intersection as was presented today. All right, the next question that we had come in was somewhat related to this one, and it was asking, are there any traffic projections done to include the future traffic from the large development right over the Cheshire line? I'm just going to answer this one again too. So when developments are proposed along the state highway system, they need to prove to the department essentially that they're able to mitigate the traffic that they're generating acceptably. And, if there are improvements that are needed to the state highway system in order to accommodate their traffic, they're oftentimes required to make those improvements on their own. We are aware of that development. We did, the department's office that looks through the developments did take a look at this and determined that, everything was going to work with the improvements that they were making near their own site. So the short answer to that is yes, the department is aware of that development, and, we're confident that the new traffic will be able to be accommodated with the design as proposed. Okay, with that, I think I'm going to send this back over to Brett for a second so that he can go through, how people can submit comments again. Brett.
Sure. Jeff, thank you again. This is Brett Stark. Again, we do appreciate your attendance and participation. Please keep those questions coming in. We're here to work with you. There are three ways. Once again, the first is by using the Teams live chat Q&A session. As was covered earlier, look at the to the entry box at the bottom of your screen. You'll type your questions in, and we will publish them, and we will acknowledge your receipt of the questions. Again, we also have the project email. Again, that email address is dotprt131-190@ct.gov. And again, the other way is by calling and leaving a voicemail at 860-944-1111. And again, we ask that you please reference project 131-190 in your voicemail. And again, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but the comment period will be open through June 3rd, 2022. After tonight, the Microsoft Teams live Q&A session will be closed. However, you can still reach department representatives through the voicemail and email address again. And once again, those are on your screen, and I will repeat them one more time here. DOT project 131-190@ct.gov, or by telephone at 860-944-1111. And Jeff, are you ready for another question?
Yes, I am, Brett. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. Next question that came in is what will be done to address traffic cutting through non-detour designated streets? Russell Road, Todd Road, Whitlock Avenue, or small streets between construction sites and Clark Street. And I'm going to pass that one over to Kristen with Putson O'Neill.
Okay, so for the detour will be signed. There will be numerous signs that will direct motorists to travel through the detour route. It will be publicized probably as well. However, there could be additional temporary no-through traffic signs that are added to the residential streets to keep motorists on the detoured route. I'm also going to take question 14. Will the width of the roadway reasonably accommodate bicyclists? So there's no dedicated bike lanes within the area today. However, we do have 12-foot travel lanes. There is a shoulder along the bridges, and there is the sidewalk. So there's not a plan to accommodate a dedicated bike lane at this time.
All right, thank you, Kristen. All right, looks like we had another one that came in, which I'm going to take. All right. So this question is asking if this plan is going to be able to accommodate the additional traffic generated by a 300 multifamily unit development constructed at the I-691 exit and commercial construction anticipated in the same area, which is currently being initiated. And so I'm going to go back to, the department does have processes and procedures in place to review traffic generating developments before they're allowed to get a permit on the state highway system. So, under that review process, they are required to make any improvements to the state highway system that are deemed necessary in order to accommodate the traffic that they're generating. So I'm unaware of the multifamily unit one, and it sounds like the commercial one is still anticipated and may not have even been sent into the department for review yet. I will reach out to that office about the multifamily unit one at the conclusion of this meeting, but I would expect that if it has been submitted to the department, it has been determined that it's not going to have a large impact on the project area. But like I said, I will reach out to that unit just to make sure that, if they had reviewed it, that they did determine that there won't be any impacts in our project area. Looks like we got another one in. This one was an email question. Will variable sign message boards be used to update motorists? This is something that the department has been doing a lot on projects recently, and it's sort of a new thing. We have been doing it for a while on the limited access highway system, 84, 691 and such. And we have started expanding that into the surface road projects as well. And especially considering that there are going to be some detour impacts with this, I would imagine that it would be something that would be considered, but that won't be determined until we get further on into the design process and we have a little bit better idea of, exactly how long the construction stages are going to work and construction is going to last. But I will say that, I would expect that it will be strongly considered on this project just based on the impacts that we're anticipating. All right, next question. This is another email question. What will the cycle times be like for the traffic lights at both intersections? Will traffic back up north on Route 10 while waiting for the light to turn green? Kristen, I'm going to pass this one off to you.
Thank you. So these will be new traffic signals, and they will be optimized to coordinate with each other. There will be full video detection instead of loop detection. So with the video detection, they will detect the queuing lengths and will optimize themselves to move vehicles through the intersections as quickly as possible, so that they'll constantly be retiming themselves, and so that there's not a backup at any one leg or approach.
All right, thank you, Kristen. All right, before we get on, we do have one more question in the queue, but before we get to that, I'm going to pass this over to Brett, just to remind people how they can get in touch with us here and submit their questions. Brett?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. Brett Stark here again. Again, there are multiple ways to reach us here this evening. We do have the project email, dotproject131-190@ct.gov, and also the telephone number 860-944-1111. We invite you to call and leave a voicemail. Again, both these options will continue after tonight through June 3rd of 2022. So you have a couple weeks in case you think of something here after the meeting, and the department will be happy to get back to you and work through these great questions you have. Again, we also have the chat feature, which is ongoing with the live session here tonight. I'd also just like to take a moment to remind you again about the voluntary survey. You have the opportunity to provide feedback for your department representatives and team who's here tonight. Again, the link for that will be published in the Q&A, and also made available through the project website, which is again here featured on the center of your screen, portal, that's portal.ct.gov/DOT Southington, SOUTHING TON 131-190. Again, you can access the survey through that QR code you see on the screen currently through the project website, and again, the link will be posted in the chat. So we welcome your feedback, and feel free to keep those questions coming. Jeff, back to you.
All right, thank you, Brett. With that, it looks like we do have another question that came in. This one was asking, Norton Street was torn up for the gas lines. Will we have to wait for this project to get Route 10 and Norton Street repaved? So utility upgrades are something that commonly happen in advance of our projects. Utility companies like to take the opportunity to upgrade their facilities before we do roadway repairs, just because of the damage that it does cause when they do this. It makes it easier for them to get these accomplished without needing to worry about tearing up a brand new roadway. So we are aware that Eversource did do some upgrades out here. They were supposed to make some reasonable repairs to the roadway in the areas that were torn up. So if it is in really poor shape, it is something that we can check with our maintenance people about. But currently the plan was to not have the roadways repaired anything past where Eversource had done the patching prior to the project. But again, that can be revisited. And I will remind you that, the project construction is supposed to start either in the fall of 2023 or the spring of 2024. So I do understand that is still, a year and a half out. So, we can take a look at that just to see if everything's going to hold up in that relatively long time period. It does not appear that we have any other questions in the queue, so with that, I'd just like to remind everyone that the comment period for this project lasts until Friday, June 3rd. After the conclusion of this meeting, Additional comments can be submitted via the email address, which again is dotproject131-190@ct.gov. Or you can leave us a voicemail at 860-944-1111. If you do leave a voicemail after the conclusion of this meeting, please reference project 131-190 in your message. And I'd also just like to remind everybody that the Microsoft Teams chat that is available during the meeting will not be available after the meeting. So any further questions or comments will need to come in either via the email or the voicemail. Also, a recording of this meeting, including the question and answer session, will be posted to the project website if you'd like to rewatch the presentation or share it with your friends or neighbors who are unable to attend this event. Okay, that being said, does not appear that we have any additional questions coming in at this time. So with that, I think that we are good to close out this meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening for the presentation and the question and answer session. Public feedback is a big part of our design process, and the department values your input. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your evenings.